All right, so in this video, we're going to see Democratic Senator Ron Wyden on the Senate floor, and he basically dismantles Donald Trump's completely wild claim that the entire Jeffrey Epstein matter is a hoax and a scam. We're going to see a pretty rattled Trump administration, you know, through their loyalist Attorney General Pam Bondi, just get exposed for their blatant hypocrisy on transparency. What I want you to really pay attention to here is the sheer volume of evidence Senator Wyden presents. Just watch how it makes the administration's attempts to sweep this whole thing under the rug look, well, it looks worse than suspicious. It looks genuinely pathetic. As usual, let's watch the video in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
Senator from Oregon.
Mr. President, Donald Trump has made some far-fetched statements over the last few months, but a stunner in the last few days was his claim that the Jeffrey Epstein matter was a hoax and a scam. Here is why the president is wrong. The figure at the center of this story was an ultra-rich, well-connected sex trafficker. He was a serial rapist of women and young girls. And for some reason, the Trump administration, that claimed they'd be the most transparent administration ever, turned on a dime. The president had run on a campaign with a promise to expose the Epstein files. Now he and the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, say, nope, nothing to investigate. When it comes to Epstein and sex trafficking, all these claims are just ludicrous. I want the American people to know that that's wrong. If you want to know why, just look at the latest report from our investigators that was discussed in the New York Times this morning. Now, somewhere in the Treasury Department, Mr. President, locked away in a cabinet drawer, is a big Epstein file that's full of actionable information. Follow the money details about his financing and operations that await investigation. Last year, the Biden administration allowed our investigators to look at portions of the file. We did that at the Treasury building. Here is what it says. Treasury's Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even a lot more to investigate. The file shows that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to sex trafficking. A lot of the women and girls he targeted came from Russia, Belarus, Turkey, and elsewhere. One shudders to think about the kinds of people who must have been involved in trafficking these women and young girls out of those companies and into the Epstein web of abuse. Again, these are all potential leads, Mr. President, the Department of Justice ought to be digging into. This is about years and years of international sex trafficking. None of this is a hoax. None of it is a scam. And I'd like to say I consider it insulting to the intelligence of the American people for the Trump administration to simply say there is nothing to investigate here. Now, when the Trump administration came in with a lot of fanfare about transparency and openness, I said, I'm going to follow up on that. So I wrote to the Attorney General, Ms. Bondi, Treasury Secretary Bessent, FBI Director Patel, and I asked them all to produce the Epstein file to the Senate Finance Committee so it could be reviewed. In fact, I've made that request multiple times. The Trump commitment to transparency based on the response didn't mean a whole lot because they just refused. Here's what one Treasury official wrote back to me. I'll quote here. The Department of Treasury has previously made documents available relating to the matter in response to your inquiries. Accordingly, we understand that you have the information you seek from the Treasury related to this request. We thank you for your attention to this important issue. Mr. President, for anybody who's familiar with how these discussions go in Washington, D.C., what I just read was code for the bureaucracy saying, you're asking for information, go pound sand. The Trump administration may be trying to close the books on the Epstein sex trafficking, but I want it understood as a senior member of the Senate Finance Committee, where we spend a lot of time looking at where substantial sums of money are going, particularly if they may be promoting wrongdoing and helping to evade taxes. We are going to stay on this fight to hold the wealthy individuals accountable for the harm that they clearly were involved in injuring the young women and others in this sex trafficking. So I'm going to have more follow-up for Attorney General Bondi very quickly. As for today, Mr. President, if she doesn't want to do the investigating, doesn't want the DOJ to do it, let me just restate my original demand. Have that Treasury information given to the Senate Finance Committee and have us on a bipartisan basis do our work. That's what we do in important investigations. If the Trump people believe they need additional authority to carry out the requests that I make again this afternoon, let me offer to help them write the bill myself. The idea that there is nothing more to investigate, not when you have 4,000 wire transfers, many of them associated with the possibility of wrongdoing and sex traffic promoting. The idea that you have that and there's nothing to investigate when it comes to the Epstein sex trafficking operation is ridiculous. Pam Bondi was the Attorney General in the state of Florida, where a lot of the Epstein crimes were committed. The Attorney General ought to know better, of all people. Mr. President, I can't begin to understand the President's handling of this or why he thinks this is just going to go away. But I'm here to say that our investigators have spent 3 full years looking into this. And the reason why is because we feel so strongly about the horror of sex trafficking and our commitment to root it out. The President of the Senate is new to this body, but I'm sure he's dealt with these issues before. You can't have a much bigger horror in front of you than sex trafficking abuse. So we're talking about real evil done to women and girls by Jeffrey Epstein. And Mr. President, nobody gets to sweep that under the rug. I yield the floor.
So, yeah, you saw it right there. Senator Wyden did, well, he did exactly what you'd expect him to do, didn't he? He came with the receipts. He brought this mountain of evidence that makes the whole hoax claim look, completely and utterly ridiculous. My thesis here, my thinking, is pretty simple, really. The Trump administration's refusal to investigate this any further, with all this overwhelming evidence just sitting there, is such a transparent and desperate attempt to protect powerful people. Their claim that this is a hoax goes so far beyond being a simple lie. It's a profound insult to the victims and, frankly, to the intelligence of the American people. I mean, let's just try to break this down for a second. Trump says it's a hoax and a scam. His AG Pam Bondi says, nope, nothing to investigate. Okay. Senator Wyden then, very calmly points to a Treasury Department file that details, and I'm quoting him here, 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly 1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. One account. He says that's over 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. This is a list of financial transactions, actual hard data. This is so much more than some vague conspiracy theory. How can you look at over 4,000 wire transfers, many involving sanctioned Russian banks, and potential trafficking victims, and then say with a straight face, nothing to investigate here? It's genuinely crazy to me. It's baffling. And you could just hear the utter frustration in Wyden's voice when he was talking about the administration's response to his requests. He points out they ran on being the most transparent administration ever, but then when he asked for the file, he got what he accurately called bureaucratic code for go pound sand. I mean, they literally told him, we understand that you have the information you seek. It's such a condescending, such a dismissive way of saying, we're not giving you anything else, now please go away. And let's be 100% honest here. The issue is clearly a deliberate, politically motivated cover-up. Why else would you fight so hard to keep a file locked away in a drawer? If the file exonerated everybody, you'd think they would release it immediately to shut everyone up, right? The fact that they are stonewalling this hard, I mean, in my personal opinion, that speaks volumes. It feels like they are terrified of what's in that file and, who it might implicate. This whole situation, it just perfectly encapsulates the broader MAGA strategy, doesn't it? When you're faced with inconvenient facts, you just declare them a hoax. The economy is bad? Hoax. Climate change? Hoax. An investigation into your friend, the international sex trafficker? Big hoax. They just create this alternate reality for their supporters where the evidence is irrelevant. But as Senator Wyden points out, this involves real evil done to women and girls. You can't just memory hole that because it's politically inconvenient. This whole thing goes way beyond being another political game. We're talking about accountability for some of the most heinous crimes imaginable. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. While you guys are down there, do me a massive favor, hit that subscribe button and also give the video a thumbs up as well. I appreciate you guys, and as usual, I will see you guys in the next one.